All right, chapter 2, manufacturing systems. This was the lecture over this, so I'll go through the slides to kind of help explain some things. The evolution of manufacturing, okay? It all started with userfacturing, which is making products for personal use. So back in early times, if you needed a shovel, you had to make your own. If you needed a bowl, you had to make your own, okay? So basically, it's products that you're going to have to make for your own personal use, okay? So that is what userfacturing is. Manufacturing is making products in a mechanical manner or making products for others. Now we can mass produce. Factories have evolved. Okay, the Industrial Revolution made manufacturing products much, much easier. Okay, take for example the automobiles. They can roll them off hundreds, thousands at a time. But instead of just going to have to make your own pair of pants, shirt, hat, shoes, now you can go to a store where somebody's manufactured it and you're able to buy it. Okay, so that's what manufacturing is. Mentafacturing, that's making your products in your mind first. It's using the computer to create products. Taking what's in your mind, putting it on a computer screen. Okay, that's what that entails. A lot of people that work with CAD programs, this is what they're doing. Now, with every manufacturing system, you have three major components. You have inputs, you have processes, and you have outputs. Okay, inputs are what helps create your system. Okay, now all these inputs have to come together and you have to transform them. You have to process this, change it from one form to another, and then you have your output, your final product, whatever you desire. Okay, an automobile, end table, a jacket, a computer gaming system. But every system has three major components. Now the first one, your manufacturing inputs. The system uses human labor, information, capital, energy, materials, and finances. Now, people ask what's the difference between capital and finances. Capital, that deals with your tools, machines, buildings, cars, that sort of stuff. Finances, that's where you get your money. Are you going to the bank for a loan? Are you going to sell stock? Okay. How are you getting your money? Now, form utility is a term that will come about. This changes the form of the material to make it useful. So your natural resource needs to be changed into some sort of useful material. The two manufacturing processes. One is the transformation technology. It's basically converting raw materials into a product. Okay. That's taking a tree, cutting a tree down, turning it into a bat. Okay. That would be transforming raw materials into an end product. Okay. Then you have managerial technology. Okay. The appropriate use of the systems and procedures to ensure that transformation actions are efficient and appropriate. Okay. Everything is in sequence. You're not jumping 2 steps, then have to come back 1 step. Everything has to flow smoothly. If you don't have good managers or people that can run a company, then you waste time because you're backtracking. Then you're going here, you're going there. There's not a smooth flow to everything. So managerial technology is very important to any manufacturing system. Now, we get our raw materials. These are the steps that get involved into changing raw materials into products. First, you have to gather your raw materials. That could be cutting down a tree, okay, harvesting some ore from the ground. Okay, you get your tree. You have to go to step 2, which is the primary processing. Okay, You can't just take the tree and use it. You have to cut it down into usable parts. Okay? So you have to change it into raw cut material. Step 3, you're going to change that raw cut material. This is, the boards that are coming from the primary processing plant. In this case, would be your lumber that you get out of a sawmill. It is then changed into standard stock, which is the raw materials that you go down to Spahn and Rose, you go to Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot, and buy. 2x4s, 1x8s, 4x4s, sheeting, all that stuff. Okay, that's standard stock. Step 4, you're looking at secondary processing. It's taking that 2x4 and creating a so-called step, an end table. All right, your final product. It's whatever you decide you want it to be. The same with going, if you look at all the raw materials you'd have to gather for producing an automobile. You're looking at your steel, glass, electrical wire, copper, rubber, okay? Then you have to change all that into useful substances, but you get that from different factories. Then you create your standard stock, your door panels, all that stuff, engines, that all gets formed in the factory. And then your secondary processing. If you watched the video on Henry Ford and the assembly line, there is secondary processing all the way through. It's the assembling the car all the way from start to finish. Okay. But that video is very important to watch. I would consider watching that again before having to take the Chapter 2 summative. Now, there are 5 basic areas of activity involved in manufacturing management. The first one, okay, is research and development. This is probably one of the most important, okay? Now, if we looked at the DVD holder that I talked about in the class, our first one that we did for a class only held 8, made out of oak. They wanted to sell for $21. We went out over a weekend. We didn't sell anything. Sold 3 to somebody's grandparents. So we had to come back, form a research and development subsection of the company, and they went in and they were in charge of coming up with a new design, coming up with the processes needed to create the product from start to finish. It's very, very important. Area 2 is production. This is the area that machines and tools must be brought into play. This is where we're going to transform that 1x6, okay, the 1x4 into the letter M for our M DVD holder, okay? But the production part, cutting our dowels to the right size, using all the tools to get everything rough cut. Now, marketing. This is an important one. It's how we move the products from the manufacturer to the customer. This is where advertising comes into play. How are you going to get people to see your product? Now, last semester didn't do a very good job. Not going to lie, they didn't do a very good job of marketing their product. They only put up a few flyers. Other groups have put up 25, 30 flyers. They did announcements. They put it on the website, eBay, places where people are going to see it than just the people that you work with. Area 4 is the financial affairs. This is where you raise your money and maintain financial records. Okay? How are we going to get our money to start our company? Are we going to sell some stock? That's what a lot of people do. Yahoo, Google, they all have big stocks. You have to have somebody like a treasurer to maintain those financial records so you don't misappropriate money. Okay? It's very important. Never had a huge issue with this. We've had some where people misplaced $15. I assume that they never even collected it or even came close to having it in their graphs. So the last area is industrial relations. This deals with the human aspects of the system through personnel, labor and public relations programs, okay, HR, okay. We got to have a happy workforce. We got to have happy personnel, and we have to have a good look into the public. If the public doesn't like how you're doing things, chances are you're not going to sell a lot of product, okay. In all the classes that I've had, I've only had one where the president was not probably the best at conveying thoughts. The group didn't want to work with them, so they basically went on strike for about a day until I could talk to her, the president, tell him she had to change the way she was doing things so that she can get her labor force to do what she wanted. Okay, that's as close to a coup that I've had. Now, with every manufacturing system, you have outputs. You have desired and undesired. Desired outputs are producing the things we want or need. Okay, it's your socks, boots, shoes, hats, cars. Another desired output of a manufacturing system is jobs. Factories produce jobs. Yes, I forgot the E in produce, but it produces jobs. Okay, that's a desired output. Something positive is coming out of it. Okay, undesired outputs, you're looking at pollution and resource depletion. Okay, pollution, EPA has helped with that to try to control that a little bit more, so we're not emitting a lot of bad things into the atmosphere. Resource depletion, we're looking at cutting too many trees down. So if we cut so many trees, we have to plant so many trees. So they're trying to balance that out. Just imagine if we just kept cutting and cutting and cutting. It's kind of like if you watch Deadliest Catch. They're out there, they have a certain quota they can meet, certain crab that they can catch, pounds of crab. They can get fined severely if they go over that. But that's what we're talking about in resource depletion. Okay, if you look at the buffalo, they were fair game in the early 1800s and almost wiped them out because we weren't protecting. Deer have a certain amount of deer you can shoot during a season. That's resource depletion. All right, that's it for the chapter on manufacturing systems, chapter 2. Hopefully this will help explain some of the stuff in the notes. Have a good day.